Okay, we are rolling. Champions of Champions boxing talk here. Well, this is the final breakdown of the Manny Pacquiao Lucas Matthysse WBA regular title fight in Malaysia. The WBA regular is not considered the main title. Keith Thurman owns that, but they are promoting it as being a major title. So I suppose this day and age it is. I don't agree with it. I wish there was only so many belts and that's it. But belts nonetheless are used to promote fights. And people say they don't matter. They do matter. If you go around in boxing and you never win a title, a world title, you won't get the same recognition. Once you become a major name and been a world champion, then the title matters less. But initially, you need those straps. Because those straps equal mandatories. They equal big names wanting to fight you. They equal being able to put this information on a ticket. World title fight. Now, to me and you, real boxing fans, we might just blow it off and say, oh yeah, here we go, typical, another title, big deal. But to a casual, wow, this is a world title fight. It has a ring to it, right? I know Floyd Mayweather could fight Sugar Ray Leonard and there'd be no belt on the line and people would still flock to see it because those two names transcended the belts. But initially, they needed the belts. They don't need them now. They didn't need them for the last 10 years or whatever, but they needed him at the start. Of course, Manny Pacquiao prides himself on being a world champion. This, I think, will be his 4th world title if he wins at welterweight. Somebody in the comment section tell me who has won a version of the welterweight title the most times in history, whether it be 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever times. If Manny Pacquiao becomes welterweight champion for the 4th time, is that yet another record on his resume? Could you let me know? So the Malaysians are excited because it's got a world title and it's got a world-renowned fighter on it. And it's got a very popular fighter on it in Lucas Matthysse, because Lucas Matthysse does one thing, doesn't he? He equals knockouts and he brings entertainment. You very rarely see Lucas Matthysse in a dull fight. I'm struggling to remember any dull fights. I mean, if there is one thing Lucas Matthysse does as well as any fighter on the globe, that's punch. I don't care who you tell me. Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, the whole lot. Lucas Matthysse can punch with them, if not better. I think he's a better one-punch knockout artist, arguably, than Keith one-time Thurman. Because this guy can drop you with a jab. We've seen it. Errol Spence, to me, seems to break people down. I think if Lucas Matthysse hit Kell Brook as much as Errol Spence did, I think Lucas Matthysse would break Kell Brook to pieces. I do. I just think Errol Spence is better at cutting the ring off. He's got more, skill. He's a better welterweight. Probably a better body puncher. Better at landing and planting the shot, I think, in my opinion. But still, if Lucas landed at the same rate, he'd finish you in half the time, in my opinion. He's that powerful. Problem is, he's facing a Filipino flash. One of Lucas Matthyse's major punches is that hook, isn't it? Big right hand, and he has a tremendous hook. He's a well-skilled fighter, has a good jab. He is, I'd say, more skilled, and again, a better puncher than the likes of Brandon Rios that Manny Pacquiao fought. Here's where I think, though, that Lucas Matthysse is in a bit of trouble. He doesn't have Jeff Horn's size, for instance. He doesn't have Jeff Horn's youth, for instance. He doesn't have Jeff Horn's ability to absorb punishment either. Jeff Horn took lickings from Manny Pacquiao in round 9 in Lisbon. And he also took tremendous punishment from Terence Crawford and was stood up, and he could have continued fighting in that match. Interesting, one thing that Jeff Horn said, he actually thinks Manny Pacquiao hit harder than Terence Crawford. He actually said he was more hurt against Manny Pacquiao than he was against Terence Crawford. And the difference was, he was fighting Terence Crawford bang in his prime. He was fighting Manny Pacquiao, at the end of his career kind of thing. And I think Manny Pacquiao, to a certain extent, underestimated Jeff Horn, mixed with there wasn't much information on Jeff Horn. There was loads on Manny Pacquiao. There was a lot more information when Terence Crawford fought Jeff Horn than what Manny was privy to in his preparation. And as I say, Crawford was the younger man. And Jeff Horn was not allowed to fight the same fight against Manny Pacquiao. Or I should say, against Terence Crawford, Jeff Horn was not allowed to use the mauling, dirty tactics that he did against Manny Pacquiao. And I predicted that. And I thought that was one of the shortcomings that Jeff Horn would receive in the United States. Rightfully so. The American referee did a great job. He didn't let Jeff Horn headbutt Terence Crawford, elbow Terence Crawford, tried strangling Terence Crawford. He would let Jeff Horn try and work, but that's what you're going to do. You're not going to do any dirty, rough stuff. He stopped that very early on. Of course, in Australia, that was allowed to happen against Manny Pacquiao. But I don't think Lucas Matthysse is that style of fighter. He doesn't have the size, the youth, the strength, as I said, and I don't think it's in his nature. I think he's more of a clean fighter than Jeff Horn. And again, talking about Brandon Rios, Manny Pacquiao hit Brandon Rios with the kitchen sink, and Brandon Rios was still standing. I don't think Lucas Matthysse at this stage can do that. I think that Brandon Rios' ability to take punishment is greater than Lucas Matthysse's. I really do. Victor Postol stopped Lucas Matthysse, and he recently lost to Josh Taylor, didn't he? Victor Postol. Now, this is the problem when people say Manny Pacquiao does not have the ability to stop Lucas Matthysse. I'm telling you, if Manny Pacquiao can summon the energy for a good 6 to 9 minutes of what he did in Brisbane, he will stop Lucas Matthysse, in my opinion. He will. Because if I still believe to this day Manny Pacquiao hits harder than Victor Postol. I also think he's got better hand speed than Victor Postol. He doesn't have the reach that Victor Postol has. He doesn't stand sort of mid-range and jab the same sort of way that Victor Postol does. But what he can do is cover distance really fast and get off and be out of range before you can answer. Sort of a Lomachenko-esque nature. Now, people say, well, you're kind of talking about Manny Pacquiao in his prime there. If this was Manny Pacquiao against Lucas Matthysse in his prime, it wouldn't go 4 rounds. Manny Pacquiao would destroy him from pillar to post, angle for angle, punch for punch. There is always the worry that Father Time does catch up. But the question is, for which fighter? They're both past their prime. The question is, who is more past their prime? Me, personally, I think Lucas Matthysse is more past his prime than Manny is. So, see, people will think too much into that, shall we say, average performance in Brisbane. But you see, Manny Pacquiao has never been a Floyd Mayweather. In other words, Floyd Mayweather ticks all the boxes. He's Mr. Consistent. He's kind of, the school SWAT that always does his homework, always has his P's and Q's ready, etc., etc. Manny Pacquiao can be sensational night after night, but he always has a night where you can just tell looking at him, you're not on it tonight, kid, are you? He's old school. Manny Pacquiao fights the way great football teams play. They do lose games in a season against some teams that you think they shouldn't lose against, but they always come back and come back stronger at that. That's Manny Pacquiao. Floyd is a different animal in that sense. Manny's legend has been achieved through a different way. Through winning, being on top, the glory, the titles, the record breaking, and then being able to come back from defeat, knowing that he has took his sort of foot off the pedal. Sometimes he's been his own worst enemy. But then it's give him the motivation. I've said it before. I'm not saying he loses on purpose, but it makes me wonder, does it sort of reinvigorate him when he loses? Is the pressure off once he's had a loss? And he comes back refocused, recharged, etc. Because he has looked quick in this training camp. I've only seen snippets. But what I've seen of Lucas Matthysse is a sense that he's going to go for Manny Pacquiao early. Joel Diaz, his trainer, has actually said as much, really, in my opinion. And this is the best chance for Lucas Matthysse. I think it's the only chance. Will he have that punch throughout the 12 rounds? Of course. But when he's getting fatigued, will he have the energy to plant it? So I see Lucas Matthysse in the first 4 rounds going for the jugular. The problem was in the training footage, Lucas Matthysse did to me look that bit slower than Manny Pacquiao. And if you're going to start fast, you've at least got to be on a speed level with your opponent, because I think Manny Pacquiao is prepared to witness a fast start from Lucas Matthysse. He did too much sitting on the ropes against Jeff Horn in Brisbane and was sort of giving the impression that Jeff Horn was landing and the crowd was getting excited. Even when Jeff wasn't landing, even when Jeff was swinging for the trees, the fact that Manny was sort of looking at the Brisbane skyline and admiring where he was while Jeff was swinging sort of made, incompetent judges give Jeff Horn the round. Let me tell you something. Punch for punch, Lucas Matthysse is a bigger puncher than Jeff Horn. You can't stay on the ropes with Lucas Matthysse admiring him. Timothy Bradley said that Lucas Matthysse in sparring was the hardest puncher he's ever faced. And we know Timothy Bradley went to absolute war and back with Ruslan Provodnikov. So, I've not seen much sparring footage, but I have heard reports from Boo Boy Fernandez and Justin Fortune, Manny's strength and conditioning coach, that they have tried all means necessary to avoid being up against the ropes against sparring partners. They're aware of this, because here's the problem. Manny Pacquiao relies on that speed and timing. If he's on the ropes, if Lucas Matthysse cannot land headshots, he might be able to slow Manny down with body shots. And then you've got a slug. You've got a shootout then. Now, again, I think Manny Pacquiao's hand speed will get there before Lucas Matthyse's. But Lucas Matthysse will have to punch when Manny punches. And in terms of one punch, he is a stronger puncher than Manny Pacquiao. So it only takes one punch. But if Manny's got his legs, if Manny's got his hand speed, If Manny's got his coordination, if Manny's got that focus, if Manny has got the stamina, I think Lucas Matthysse will be punching air early on. I don't see Manny Pacquiao starting to commit to punches until after 3 or 4 rounds. I see him playing cat and mouse with Lucas Matthysse early. I see him winning a few of them rounds based off shots with low volume. A jab here. I noticed the right hook was a bit more in play in training camp and the right jab. But I see him stepping in, landing a shot to Lucas here, being out the way there, and Lucas Matthysse following Manny Pacquiao in the end because he's getting frustrated, not cutting the ring off, and Manny just sort of landing single shots early. But the thing is, Lucas will have the frustration, but then he will just presume that this is going to be a pot shot fight. Then he's going to get a shock because Manny will switch it up and start to land combinations if Lucas is in the way. Because here's the thing, Lucas Matthysse does not have Floyd Mayweather's footwork. Floyd Mayweather on Fight Hype said, if Lucas Matthysse cannot box and move, he will get shredded up. He said as much as Lucas Matthysse is a great fighter and a great warrior, if he cannot move well against Manny Pacquiao, he will get tore up. Now, after 4 rounds, that's exactly what I see slowly happening. I compare Manny Pacquiao to a razor blade or a lawnmower that just shreds the grass up. You know, it's not a big, strong, mechanical thing, but it slowly just rips the grass out the ground. That's what he started to do in Brisbane, but couldn't finish the job. You hit a 35-year-old man like that, and this is a better prepared Manny, in my opinion, than the one in Brisbane. But if he puts a guy who has a dodgy eye, a bit like Kell Brook, if he puts combinations on him at a high altitude, at high volume, Lucas Matthysse is going to drop. And it will be sudden. I see Lucas Matthysse sort of looking like he's still there, still being in form, in shape, etc. in the fight, but I see it catching up to him. That's what I see. And I either see a lopsided points victory for Manny or a late stoppage. Maybe they pull Lucas Matthysse out. Or maybe the referee has a look in those eyes when he's took the problem from the southpaw stance, and the left hand has landed time and time again. Because here's the thing, he hasn't fought many southpaws of this nature, Lucas Matthysse. He fought Zab Judah, and that was a struggle. It was a close fight, and Lucas Matthysse was more in his prime then. Manny Pacquiao is, according to Robert Garcia, one of the most difficult fighters to prepare for. Who do you get in sparring to prepare you for him? Floyd Mayweather got the best sparring partners, and he had to do a load of weird things like use a southpaw in this way and then have to get a fast guy in to use legs this way and all that way, and it was like he had to build his own fighter using different fighters, if that makes sense. I know sparring partners are always switched in between sessions, but Floyd was using this strategically to prepare for Manny Pacquiao. Plus, Floyd is a mental surgeon. Lucas Matthysse is not. He sort of fights one way. And although I see it being cat and mouse, eventually I see Manny Pacquiao being able, when he lands that strong left hand, being able to back Lucas Matthysse up. And when Lucas Matthysse is on the back foot, he is not the same fighter. He proved that when he started backing off a little bit when Danny Garcia was countering him years ago. The strength went out of Lucas's performance, in my opinion, as the fight wore on. And Danny Garcia seemed to know it. And if there's one thing that Manny Pacquiao still has on Danny Garcia, it's speed. And he's that small that it makes him elusive. So I see Lucas coming out there but I see Manny being prepared for everything that Lucas Matthysse has. You know why as well? Lucas Matthysse is a global name in boxing, in the sense that all professional pros know him. They didn't all know Jeff Horn. So you've got bags and bags of footage on that guy. Manny is going to know what he's in for. And as difficult as it is to prepare for Manny Pacquiao in terms of getting the right sparring partners, you can get sparring partners that don't have Lucas Matthysse power, but they fight in a certain come-forward, aggressive manner. And let's face it, Manny has already fought some of these guys. Brandon Rios, and Antonio Margarito, Ricky Hatton, aggressors. With, I would say, Ricky Hatton has more foot speed than Lucas Matthysse. And he sort of went in there with the same attitude I think Lucas is going to have, to surprise Manny early. But he was being beaten to the punch. And beaten in terms of angles, because boxing is about getting angles right. Manny Pacquiao is so fast, he can switch angles so quickly. Even at this age, Lucas Matthysse is always going to be vulnerable to a punch. I think Lucas Matthysse is the more predictable fighter in this sense. People say Manny Pacquiao is predictable, but you can't predict when that predictableness is going to turn. He's sudden. I think Lucas Matthysse, you kind of know what you've got with him. And for Joel Diaz, here's the difference between Lucas Matthysse and Marquez. Joel Diaz says they're working on doing what Marquez did, but that was one night only out of 4 fights. And Marquez has some of the best timing we've seen in this generation. He's the ultimate counter-puncher. Lucas Matthysse is not. If Lucas Matthysse goes in that ring and tries to change so drastically overnight and become a low-volume counter-puncher, he is going to suffer from severe confusion. And Manny Pacquiao is going to have synergy. He's going to know what he's doing. And Lucas Matthysse is going to do okay until he gets hit. And then he will revert back to type. Because even Marquez was getting hit and dropped from Pacquiao. And as I say, Marquez is a better schooled boxer. He's got better timing. People say Lucas, if Marquez can KO Manny, so can Lucas Matthysse. But Marquez knows how to walk you onto shots, which doubles the impact. And he's very cunning. He sets up traps. Lucas Matthysse is more of a hunter than a trapper. So the breakdown is there, in my opinion. Manny via late KO or point stoppage. With the reason I don't see Lucas seeing the final bell is because I think he'll look at himself and think, we can't win this, and sort of refuse to make the count. Similar to Postall, he knew he was way, way behind, and if he got up, he was just going to take more punishment. Well, he's facing a guy that is still so much quicker than Victor Postall, hits still harder than Victor Postall, he's more accurate than Victor Postall, is more difficult to hit back these days, has faster foot speed, better foot speed, and this is his first promotion on Manny Pacquiao Promotions. He is going to be determined to put on a performance here because it is a must win. He must bring out the best of what's left in himself, Manny Pacquiao. Of course, Lucas Matthysse must do the same, but I just think when you're chasing Manny down, you're vulnerable to him. As Floyd said again, if you can't box and move and make Manny Pacquiao do things that's not natural to him, you're in trouble. If you give Manny Pacquiao a chance to present his game plan against you, it's going to be very difficult. If you can take Manny Pacquiao somehow out of his game, then you've got a chance if you're an elite fighter. This could be the night that Manny Pacquiao's legs don't move no longer. This could be the night that Manny Pacquiao's hand speed is no longer there. We've seen it with Bernard Hopkins, didn't we, in his last fight, where he was knocked out the ring. That was against, again, a younger man. Now, people say that Lucas Matthysse is better than the guy that beat Bernard Hopkins. Yes, he is, in terms of know-how and boxing experience and maybe technique. But it's always the case. Young men can carry bricks and stones and weights just more than older men can. No matter how great the older man is, there is certain things that youth can absorb that old age can't. And as I say, if Manny Pacquiao was hitting Manny Pacquiao wouldn't take it either. But Manny Pacquiao is an elusive target. Lucas Matthysse is not. He's not. He's there to fight. And Manny will fight him when Manny can fight him. And when Manny is not comfortable with fighting him, Manny will be out of range. Side-to-side movement, not hitting them ropes. I see Lucas Matthysse giving the turnbuckle, Canelo Alvarez style, a punch here and there. And again, being frustrated. But there is always that thought that old age could somehow come in, more so for Manny because he is 4 years older. And this could be Lucas's night. But if Manny Pacquiao is anything like himself, if the Manny Pacquiao of Brisbane turns up, he still beats Lucas Matthysse, in my opinion. Because as I said, Jeff Horn's faster, bigger, more of a mauler, stronger arguably at this point, more durable because of his youth. And Manny was still slicing him up. What's the slower Lucas Matthysse going to do if he can't land that punch? Where is plan B coming from? Lucas Matthysse in his prime didn't really have a plan B to this if it happens. What's the 35-year-old version going to do? Either what Lucas has got is going to work or it's not. It's as simple as that. And I think Manny is the man that can adjust more as well. I think he's the guy with the better boxing IQ overall. I think he's the guy that thinks faster in the ring. Sometimes with Manny Pacquiao, he's not like Amir Khan where everything looks like a blur. Manny Pacquiao thinks ahead. And that's what makes him look these days even quicker than he is. But I've seen him on the heavy bag and so forth and in training camp and he looks pretty good to me. And he looks good for his age. And reports coming back from the camp are good news, apparently. He sparred 12 rounds the other day very comfortably. There is a rumour going round. And again, you can't really go off these rumours because what happens on the fight happens on the fight. It doesn't mean that this will sort of be the shape of the fight. But I've heard Lucas Matthysse has been dropped and stunned a little bit in sparring in preparation for this fight. Now, who knows? That could mean that the sparring partners have prepared him very well and he puts in a career best performance. But I still think he's going to need it. Who knows? It could happen. But as I said, I'm taking Manny Pacquiao to win this fight. I don't think it's as competitive as people think. I don't think it's as competitive as Manny Pacquiao would let you believe. But Manny Pacquiao, I believe, doesn't know that. I think Manny Pacquiao thinks he's in for a tough fight. That's good news because it means he will prepare vigorously and has prepared vigorously. I'm glad this fight is taking place because it's the end of an era. All the talk that the fight wasn't happening by Bob Arum has apparently turned out to be false. And Manny Pacquiao will get his fight in Brisbane. There are changes made to his team. What will it be like not seeing Freddie Roach there? That will certainly seem strange to me. And to be honest, it will seem strange without Bob Arum as well. I know a lot of people don't like Bob Arum, but him and Manny and Freddie really did extraordinary things. Do you know something? I'll have to just say it to you now about the extraordinariness of this career. Do you know before Manny Pacquiao fought Oscar De La Hoya, this was the mindset back then. Oscar De La Hoya was obviously the big favourite. The reporters at the time, many of them were saying things like, Manny's best chance is to beat an Oscar De La Hoya, but we don't think it happens. Along that lines, I'm paraphrasing. But they said, but surely at welterweight, he stands absolutely no chance against a Miguel Cotto. That would be ridiculous. And he stands no chance against an Antonio Margarito. The media and the boxing community had already accepted that Manny Pacquiao just couldn't go there. That was the mindset back then. It's extraordinary to think that he's favourite in a few weeks' time to win yet another welterweight title. If you'd have asked the media back then, Lucas Matthysse, Manny Pacquiao, they would have said the same thing. How can this little guy beat Lucas Matthysse? Well, we know the history now, don't we? He beat convincingly Cotto and Margarito and many others. People forget how extraordinary the prime of Manny Pacquiao was. It was unprecedented. So, as I said, Bob Arum and Manny Pacquiao, they did have a fantastic run, a historic run. And it would be nice if promoter and fighter could sort of look at and shake hands civilly and say, it's been a fantastic journey, but I could take it from here. Thanks a lot, Bob. But unfortunately, in boxing, it doesn't happen that way because Manny Pacquiao is bound to have learned promotional strategies from Bob Arum. Bob Arum is one of the best at what he does. There's no question. But of course, all good things do come to an end. So, it will be strange. But I'm glad the fight and the rumours are untrue. And I'm glad Manny Pacquiao is making Manny Pacquiao Promotions work his way. Along with Oscar De La Hoya helping in the promotion. The only thing that I wish, and I know many people have said it as well, that Manny would have gone his own way some years ago. But as they say, better late than never. So the Filipino Flash, the 8th wonder of the world, the Pac-Man, what other nicknames have there been for Manny Pacquiao? That's the guy I think's going to win this fight. But I will say this. Always be prepared to win your prediction and accept it. But never be surprised if you're wrong and the other guy wins. Because this is boxing. So maybe, just maybe, Lucas Matthysse can shock Malaysia. But I've got my doubts. It's Manny for me. But Lucas has that punch. Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao to win. And this is Champions of Champions Boxing Talk. I'm off to watch a World Cup game now. It's 5 minutes in. And I'm out.